The Washington Commanders fall short against the New York Giants 14-7. Here's our instant reaction here on Ref the District. Let's go. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the instant reaction here on Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. We are here on the Believe Network, giving you our immediate thoughts on the Washington Commanders' loss to the New York Giants 14-7 in a game where Jahan Dotson is reminding everybody of Josh Dotson as he's unable to bring down a pass. Now, Stoner.
Nope.
Was behind him.
I don't care.
If that was in front of him, that's a touchdown, right? But Sam Howell's on the run, running for his life as he was the entire game. And it hits Jahan Dotson's hands. It hits his hands, Stoner. If he brings that one in, it's 1st and goal at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And Washington potentially ties it up, and we talk about whether or not they should be going for it on 2nd down. Play before that was interesting too, as Terry McLaurin had one-on-one coverage out to the left-hand side. Sam Howell sees it. You see him look down. He's like, okay. And he immediately goes for there, but he throws a different pass than what Terry McLaurin was expecting.
Yeah.
And that's what set up 4th and 5. Just not good enough, Stoner. We're just not good enough. The Washington football, it is what it is. On my shirt here.
I'm so bummed, Nathan. I'm so bummed. I was really, after the Chicago game, I was angry because of how bad they got beat by a team that hadn't won in a year. It was in a 14, blah, blah, blah. This game, I'm just so disappointed and so bummed at their effort. Not their effort, their execution in this game, in all phases of the game. All phases of the game. The offense was bad. The defense in the first half was not great. Might even call them bad. The special teams was okay, but that missed kick, that blocked kick was bad. You can't have a blocked kick on a 27-yard field goal. Who's ever heard of that? How does that happen? I'm just so bummed and so disappointed. And I have come to the conclusion, I have figured it out. I'm a dumb person, Nathan. I'm dumb for thinking that this
just a
team,
big dummy,
thinking that this team could figure out how to beat a bad New York Giants team. This is not one of those things where you can say the Giants have had some bad luck here and there. You can talk about their injuries and all that. This is a bad New York Giants football team. And they could only score 7 points on one of the worst defenses in the league. It was just bad, Nathan.
It was. The first half, Washington found themselves down 14-0. So the defense had a great second half as they were able to hold the Giants. They got a turnover in the red zone. We thought that was big. We thought that was the turning moment, that Washington was going to win the game from there.
Yeah.
But that first half, this is a team that hasn't scored an offensive touchdown since the 3rd game of the season.
Unbelievable.
And they scored twice here against Washington before they buckled down. They were scoring, Stoner.
Yeah.
1.5 points a game at home until this.
Yeah. And that first half, again, Washington defensively started slow. Now they did okay the first couple of drives, but they gave up a long drive all the way down the field and gave up the touchdown to Waller on a 3rd and 15, I believe, where the play before they stopped. It would have been a 4th and 2 at like the 3, something to that, or 4th and goal. I think it was 4th and goal from the 3, but there was an offensive holding call, and Washington decided to take the penalty. So it was 3rd and 15, 3rd and goal from the 15, and they scored over the middle to Waller on a play that looked just like basically like miscommunication from the defense. It happens sometimes, but can't happen on a 3rd and 15. So defensively, they just kind of started slow. Then they had the interception. Washington threw an interception and gave the Giants a short field. They scored in 2 plays, and you're down 14-0. And you're just going, why? Why does this team consistently, game in and game out, we gave the stat of in the Ron Rivera era, how many times Washington is losing at halftime. And it's in the 70 percentile that they're either tied or losing at halftime. Why? Why does it just keep on happening game in and game out? I don't get it, Nathan. I don't understand what was going on in that first half defensively. That Tyrod Taylor was taking this team up and down the field on Washington. Not every drive, but still with 5 backup offensive linemen.
Yeah, pretty consistently there. The Giants were able to move the ball in that first half. And Washington on the other side of the ball, on their offense, wasn't able to move. In fact, they did not have a sustained drive until they missed that field goal. That was an 8-play, 81-yard drive that ends in a missed field goal. And then they had the 17-play, 85-yard drive that ended on downs that practically ended the game realistically there. Yeah. Their other drives were abysmal. A 3-and-out the time before the missed field goal drive, a 5-and-punt, 21 yards on that one, the time before that. The touchdown was 6 plays, 21 yards. You were gifted a short field off of the muffed punt.
Right.
And because you went 3-and-out, by the way. You're punting after you have an entire half to look over things. Right. And you go 3-and-out, you punt it, and your best offensive play ended up being a muffed punt, getting you all the way down there to the 21-yard line where you did punch it in. And if there's one thing I can say about this offense in a positive light over the last 2 weeks,
there is something you could say.
There is. When they get to the red zone, they score. Obviously, the end of the Jahan Dotson drop, the miscommunication with Terry McLaurin there aside, that last drive by Washington, they didn't score, but they have been able to punch it in when they get down there.
Yeah.
And maybe if they had 5 downs, Stoner, maybe if they had 5 downs, they do get it into the end zone, but unfortunately they only get 4 downs.
Yeah, just offensively, I mean, the first half was disgusting. It was like the Bears game when they had scored 3 points in the first half, but at least kind of in that Bears game, they had some movement going down the field. They did nothing in the first half offensively. And it was a combination of a lot of things. It was bad Sam Howell play. It was sacks. It was bad play calling. It was you couldn't run. It was all of those things. And we have to start. We all love Eric Bieniemy. We think he's a fiery dude. He is a leader type guy. We love everything that he brings in that. But he's the reason this offense is struggling. I truly believe that he is the number one reason. Offensive line is bad. Sam hasn't been great, but he hasn't been bad. The receivers are not getting open. The running backs are not getting big chunk plays. All of that's true. But that, to me, all falls on the offensive coordinator. You knew it. I knew it. Everybody watching this knew that the New York Giants are going to blitz the crap out of Sam Howell, a young quarterback making his 8th career start. If we all know it, why does Eric Bieniemy not know it? Why does Eric Bieniemy continue to call long pass plays over and over and over and over and causing a young quarterback? You don't have Patrick Mahomes back there. He's going to take these sacks. You have to scheme it out of him. And he did that eventually in the second half. He started moving the pocket, moving it, rolling right, rolling left, throwing these short passes, But you get behind in the first half. And I will always go back to this, and you can call me old-fashioned, and you can call me the game has passed me by. But when you have a 14-7 game or 14-0 game, and you drop back to pass 49 times, and you run the ball 19 times, that's a crime. You can't do that. If you're that close, you got to run the ball. And he absolutely refuses to run the ball. Whether you're successful or not, you have to run it. And he just refuses to do it. And I don't get it.
So, I'm kind of the opposite. I'm okay with the short passing game being implemented into
But they're not doing that either, Nathan.
But they're not doing it. They're not,
Right.
or they're not executing it at a level.
Yeah.
Too many times they get behind the sticks, right?
Yeah.
Where the stat that they kept showing on the broadcast, Washington kept missing these conversions. They waited to complete a third down conversion until the last couple drives there.
Sure.
The average distance was 9 yards. You can't, that's why you're abysmal at converting third down, is you can't, you get so far behind the sticks. And part of that's because they're passing and they're not getting these passes. I even said that as much on the last drive. They went for 2 big pass plays. They got bailed out by a defensive penalty on one of them.
Yeah.
But they were just trying to go for broke. And it was just like, this is not the time to sit there, try to go for broke. And
with like 10 minutes to go.
And they were doing that consistently. My magic number for today, we're going to have Nathan's magic number.
All right, let's hear it.
6, Stoner.
6.
It pertains to 2 things. Do you want to take a guess?
Punts.
6 sacks against Sam Howell. Okay. 6 3-and-outs in the first half, more importantly, is what I wanted to bring up. 8 drives in the first half. 6 of those are 3-and-outs. The longest drive in the first half, Stoner, 4 plays. They had 2 drives with 4 plays. One was a punt, and the 4th play was an interception on the other. You just can't have that. It was so bad, Stoner, that we, on our live play-by-play and commentary, started asking and getting asked, do you see Jacoby Brissett in the second half?
Yeah.
Which I had said, you give Sam Howell 1 more drive. And he had 1 drive, a 3-and-out. They muffed the punt, and they keep Sam in there, which I liked. I liked it, and they scored a touchdown, and I said, okay, you're going to keep him in for the rest of the game, because he's going to see that good motion. And you kind of saw that with those 2 extended drives there to end, but you still ended up having, after that touchdown, 5 plays, 21 yards and a punt, 3 plays, 8 yards and a punt. They just couldn't get anything going. And you're right. There's a lot of blame to be shouldered. And a lot of it's going to be put on Jahan Dotson, because even though he had probably his best game statistically up to date this season, he had at least 2 drops that the ball wasn't placed the best.
Yeah.
If it hits your hand, Stoner, if it hits your hands, you got to catch it. And we've seen him do those kind of plays before.
It's stunning. I don't get it.
And I'm not going to pile that much more on Jahan Dotson, because Lord knows I'm probably going to continue talking about this, because he is taking it hard. He was on the sidelines after the game as the teams meet in the middle, and he is still on the Washington sidelines by himself, knowing that was on him.
It was.
He had the opportunity there. Yeah, you could say it was a bad pass by Sam Howell and everything, but he knows he had the opportunity there. Washington had an opportunity here against the previously 1-5 Giants to get above 500, to get a division win. These are important. Down the way, the New York Giants are going to play a part in whether or not Washington makes the playoffs. Okay. And I know it's absurd. Before
it feels absurd right now.
In the comment section to attack me at 3-4 after losing to the Giants 14-7 to even think of the playoffs. Go ahead and cue it. Playoffs? We're talking about the playoffs. I get that it sounds absurd. I get it. But Washington is still in the thick of it. And this is what happened to them last season.
Exactly.
Washington was in the thick of the playoffs, and they're losing to a bad Giants team. Don't give me that the Giants were a playoff team last year. Okay. They were a bad team. All right. They were a bad team last season. They're a bad team this season.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not a good team, and Washington continues to lose to them. So what does that make Washington?
Yeah, exactly.
I hate to tell you, they're not a good team. A good team wins this game handedly. A good team came into this, or a good team would come into this game healthy, as Washington was.
Completely.
They had two players that were healthy scratches that normally would see active time, healthy scratches.
Mhm.
F.A. Obata and Christian Holmes, who normally see snaps. Now, granted, that's special teams for Christian Holmes. They were healthy scratches, and in their place, Castro Fields comes in for Christian Holmes, and he has 2 penalties, 2 absurd penalties on special teams. And then F.A. Obata is replaced by Anderson, the guy who they cut and put back on the practice squad for. A healthy team beats this Giants team who is literally starting a guy 2 weeks removed from being on his couch. Is Justin Pugh going to be the next Taylor Heineke? Are we going to see pictures of his couch all over because he's going to be the darling because he gets a chance? Because Evan Neal was out. Daniel Jones was out. Adoree Jackson was out. You can't take advantage of that. You can't move the ball. You let Tyrod Taylor move the ball on you. I get Saquon Barkley is an immense talent. They held their own against him.
Sure did.
He still got his yards, but just
Not
kind
really.
of like in basketball, sometimes you just got the shooter's going to shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
And Saquon ran and he got his yards. Yes, it wasn't at a great clip. And in the second half, Washington was able to stop them, but that's too late. You need to do that all game. And I get that the defense was being put in bad positions because the offense couldn't move. But this team just can't do it. You sack Tyrod Taylor 4 times on the game. Chase Young was all over the place. And it's absurd to me, Stoner. People want to trade him away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you went pretty good there. You went pretty hard on the team, and I like it. I like it. Everything that you said. But some of the stats that we look at, and all the things you talked about with this offense and all the struggles that this offense had, especially in the first half with all those drives, you were going against one of the worst defenses in the league. You weren't playing Cleveland. You weren't playing give me another great defense in the NFL this year.
San Francisco.
Great. Excellent one. You're playing one of the worst statistically defenses in the entire NFL. And you couldn't do all of those things that you talked about. They were 1 of 15 on third down conversions. 1 of 15 on third down conversions. Let that sink in for a minute. They had 10 penalties for 75 yards, and some of them were crucial penalties. Kept a drive alive for the Giants on after the blocked field goal when they got a stop on third down. And then it was a Jamin Davis illegal contact or hold, whatever you want to call it. And it was definitely a penalty, but he got called for that, and that kept the drive alive, which they went all the way down. You had a higher time of possession, but you couldn't take advantage of that. I mean, it's just, this was a bad New York Giants team, and you couldn't stop them for a while on offense. In the second half, you did well, but you couldn't score on this team. 7 points from a 21-yard drive. That was your offense for the entire game, basically. I mean, you had the missed field goal or the blocked field goal, and you had the play at the very end there that they were stopped on fourth down. I'm putting all of this, Nathan, all of this, regardless of what you want to talk about with the defense, with certain players, with you want to blame the head coach, you want to blame Dan Snyder for hiring the head coach, all that stuff. It's on Eric Bieniemy. We have to stop giving him a pass because we like him and we want him to succeed. This is on Eric Bieniemy for putting Sam Howell in positions that he's not ready for. Sam Howell could be a good quarterback. He is not ready to shoulder the responsibility that EB is putting on him and asking him to drop back 49 times in a game against the New York Giants in which you are within, at worst, 14 points the entire game. That's on Eric Bieniemy. He has to run the ball. The Giants were not good offensively, right? They were not good offensively. They ran the ball 32 times and not at a great clip either for 106 yards. That's almost a terrible rate. I'm going to look exactly what that rate is. 3.3 yards per carry, Nathan. But they ran it because they know it's important. Yes, they were ahead most of the game, but you still have to run it It's part of what football is. Get out of this mindset that you throw to, what is it? You throw to score and you run to protect the lead, or you run to win. That's not how football works. It just, I know all of you new folks like that. You have to win the battle in the trenches.
You do. That part you absolutely do. And Washington,
and that includes running the ball, Nathan.
Washington didn't do that today. Washington didn't win in the trenches. Their defensive line didn't make use of the haphazard line from the Giants. The offensive line didn't do Sam Howell any favors. Sam Howell didn't do himself any favors. Eric Bieniemy didn't do himself any favors. And Washington left this game with a loss here, 14-7. And it's absurd. It is. It's absolutely absurd. Only one second half sack, by the way, as Eric Bieniemy's adjustment kept Sam upright for at least most of the second half, even if they weren't moving the ball.
Can he go into the film room or whatever and watch the second half offense and how he called plays? And there was a certain drive where he ran the ball 3 or 4 straight times, and you're going, see, it works. What was their touchdown? It was a run. Was it not? It was a run by Brian Robinson. They just go into the film room and look at what worked in that second half offensively. It wasn't a lot, but some of it worked.
I'm not going in the film room and saying, yeah, this was really good. The second half there.
It was a lot better in the first half.
Sure.
I'm not saying it was something that you're going to write a manual about in terms of how to run an offense, but they ran the ball a little bit more, and they ran it on the day. They ran for 4 yards per carry, but they dropped back 49 times.
Yeah. Chris Rodriguez
Patrick
had himself
Mahomes is
a pretty
not
good
behind
game
there. You have a young quarterback who's making his 8th career start. Stop asking him to be Patrick Mahomes and start treating him like a rookie quarterback and protecting him, not sending him back there to get behind this offensive line that's not very good. Stop doing that. Stop it now, and you might be able to salvage this season.
Well, Washington has a lot of questions that are going to need some answers this week. They're going to be facing off against the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you can't beat the Giants, forget about the 34-31 overtime loss to the Philadelphia Eagles just a few weeks back. This might be a bloodbath, but we'll be talking about that this week. We're going to sleep on this one, and we'll come back with the day after reckoning and see what we have. Maybe we're going to be, there's a little less vitriol in the day after reckoning. Doubtful, but we'll see. And then, of course, on Wednesday, we'll give you our flagship program. Make sure you listen to that. If you're on audio, make sure that you're subbed up. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner here on the Believe Network with our instant reaction. And until next time,
I'm a dumb person.
Be a fan.